in 2024. Even as things were brewing for almost 6 odd months with regional satraps meeting and talking about a front to fight Modi's BJP, it's now coming to fruition with their second meeting planned in the cool climes of Shimla between 10th and 12th of July. What one knows is that this front will be called the Patriotic Democratic Front, or PDA.
As far as left party to defeat BJP in order to save the nation, save the constitution, save democracy. That is clear.
It may be recalled that in 2004, after the general elections, we saw this kind of momentum once again, when several opposition parties came together to fight a united front of the very dominant party, as it were. In Bihar, the RJD, JDU, the Congress and the left aligned together before the 2015 assembly polls to form a grand alliance, or what is called Mahagathbandhan. Now, the U word in this entire narrative is somewhat being challenged. And this was very evident on the very first day with the AAP questioning Congress over their support for the ordinance and so on and so forth. This, many fear, will only grow bigger even as the group hurtles towards 2024. Now, before we deep dive into the pros and cons, here is a brief history of political alliances in the past.
The Congress party view, good governance has certain basics. Maintenance of law and order is good governance. Providing a sensitive and humane bureaucracy and police that does not harass and humiliate ordinary citizens is good governance. Implementing programs effectively for the weaker section of society, for the unorganized sector of the economy, is good governance. Enforcing social legislation for the welfare of women and children particularly is good governance.
We showed you Sonia Gandhi because the common context here is Shimla. This new group, that is the PDA, is also going to meet up in Shimla between the 10th and 12th of July, and we showed you archival footage of how this has been done once before. That was in 2003. Now let's deep dive into the political history of how alliances were formed, and many of them didn't even stay. The first one, as you see, Ram Manohar Lohia, great socialist leader, and non-congressism is something that he propaganded in 1967. Of course, after that he also passed away, and this is what in 1967 we first saw how India witnessed several parties, disparate parties, but with a one common minimum program, and that was to dislodge the Congress, as it were. That is the first leaf out of history that we are playing for you. More elaboration on that. Many opposition parties banded together in some states to beat, like I said earlier, Congress. This time, of course, it's changed. It's many disparate parties, including the Congress, which seems to be a monolithic party, which is now battle ready to take on the BJP in 2024. Now, Ram Manohar Lohia called the strategy non-congressism, which is, of course, anything which is devoid of any principles which were propagated by the Congress. Lohia played important role in forming first non-Congress government in Uttar Pradesh in 1967. Very unfortunate that he passed away immediately after that. He, of course, claimed that the Congress rule was undemocratic and against people's interest. Pretty much echoes what the Navnirman movement also did in Bihar, that is the Jayaprakash Narayan's movement, where he said that if there is one anti-people's party, it is the Congress party, and the leader of that party being Indira Gandhi. So that is Ram Manohar Lohia, who actually wrote the first chapter of how alliances should be formed to challenge the hegemony of the Congress party in this country. let's now debate about, whether this patriotic Democratic Alliance, that is PDA, will sustain lots of challenges. But then who's one to know? Because, in a vibrant democracy, anything is possible, but most things sound very, very impossible. In the studio with me, my colleague Brijesh Pandey is joining us, and also Professor Badri Narayan Tiwari, who's a political analyst and Dalit activist, is also joining us. Mr. Amita Tiwari, political analyst, is also live with us. Rajalakshmi Joshi, political analyst, and Manasvi Thapar, who's an advocate and political analyst. All of them joining us. A very, very vibrant, I must say, debaters today on the show. But as always, I will start first with my colleague. Brijesh, PDA, I mean, look, I know you're laughing, and let me tell the audiences, PDA is not the PDA that we all understand. But then, these days, wars, I mean, any electoral war is also fought on social media platforms. Do you think there is going to be, of course, a joke about it? And also, very importantly, patriotic versus national. There has been a lot of debate with these three words. Who is a nationalistic person? Who is a patriotic person? Do you think that will come up?
I think, that will come up, and I think this is the reason why the new acronym in the political circle is PDA, where the word patriot, the Congress as well as other opposition parties are going to use to counter the BJP's narrative, and that is the reason why this name has been accepted. Whether it succeeds or not, that remains a million-dollar question to be seen. But I think, post Karnataka election, the Congress has been riding a bit high on its success, and they are sounding much more confident than they were before Karnataka. And I think the case in point is how they are dealing with Aam Aadmi Party here in Delhi, where we have been given to understand, according to our sources of our sister concern, that that Rahul Gandhi has also made it ample clear, after being at the receiving end of all the kind of accusations and threatening bites and all by Aam Aadmi Party, saying that if this is how Aam Aadmi Party intends to deal with us, so be it. We are not in any kind of desperation to join forces with them. So yes, a new acronym is in the block. A vast majority of them look like they can work together. But I think, a lot of ironing out of, differences and other opinions and all has to be made before one can say for sure that they are fit to take on NDA led by BJP.
But, Brijesh, quickly before I go to the other guest, I also want to ask you that yesterday and the day before, Rahul Gandhi and the Congress party was speaking about making sacrifices, and suddenly you see there is a turnabout, volte-face, as it were. What do you think must have caused this? Because
I think these are two different. You have to see it in the context. When Rahul Gandhi said that the party will make sacrifices, I think they were not talking about Aam Aadmi Party or others. What they meant was that in the state of Uttar Pradesh as well as in Bihar, where the BJP was in alliance with the parties, the parties which were in power, rather the more powerful party, in Uttar Pradesh it was Samajwadi Party, in Bihar it was RJD and JDU. They were very uncomfortable with the approach of the Congress party, which was punching above their weight, demanding more seats than they can win on their own. And this was something, this was a constant friction. And one of the key demand of key political, key regional affiliates was, like, be it Mamata Banerjee or be it RJD or be it Samajwadi Party and all, was that Congress has to reassess its power, reassess its strength, and then come up with a fair numbers, so that that they can be meeting of mind and not just shoot off any number just because they were in power for such a long time. So when Rahul Gandhi used the word sacrifice, he used the word in that context. With Aam Aadmi Party, I think the newfound confidence after Karnataka is, as I said, is in full display, and they are saying that if you don't respect our leaders, if you keep on berating us or using this kind of language, it doesn't matter whether you are with us or not. We won't support your ordinance thing.
All right. Professor Badri Narayan, let me come to you first. Professor Badri Narayan, Tiwari, I just want to ask you that, there was a time when the Congress, had its hegemony. It was the most dominant party. And then that ended. And who ended it? Modi's BJP. I keep calling it Modi's BJP because I think, and you are an expert here, there is a big difference between Modi's BJP and, let's say, Atal Bihari Vajpayee's BJP. Do you think that this entire thing about, patriotic democratic alliance, which they are speaking about, which is coming into fruition, do you think it's once again a Don Quixote kind of a thing, charging at the windmills, or do you think that this is the correct political moment to actually do something like this?
I think you raised a very right question, and but I would like to say that the Congress displaced not because of BJP, but because of PSP, because of Dalit movements. Dalit and Brahmin was the base of the Congress in North India. From the base of the Congress, Dalit Congress who were the Dalit, base of the Dalits who were the Congress. So that's one point I would like to say here. Secondly, you are very right that Modi NDA or Modi-led political BJP and the PDA, they have to contest in coming time in 2024 election. And opposition has started mobilizing itself in right time. I think they have to start it much earlier. I think they are late, I like to say. And they are trying to explore their new diction of doing politics. That is the patriotic term which they brought to counter NDA, nationalist or nationalism kind of paradigm on which BJP works. But this is the agenda of the match, or the Maidan of the match, or the terms and conditions of the match is set by the BJP. And you are responding to that. In that, you are appearing as a second player. So in that, BJP has an edge in setting the narrative. Third thing is that what Rajesh was rightly saying, that creating synthesis between various interests of the opposite interests, which are coming in clash or in conflict in making the opposition unity, that will sustain and continue for longer time. And here one has to see how Rahul Gandhi, how Congress is going to address and respond to this kind of conflicts, despite of saying you leave the term and words sacrifice. And BJP under the Modi is a very imaginative party in a way. They are inventing their strategies every day. They as we know,
right.
they do 4/7 the politics. And politics is not only non-imaginative conventional politics, but imaginative and very new politics. The way Modi is working every day, and that makes the mentality of the voters in India.
Right.
So it's very difficult to contest BJP-led Modi in coming time. And Karnataka election, as you said, yes, it has created hope in the opposition. But I say sometimes that it's a big marichika. Karnataka election has created big marichika mirage for the opposition. That mirage is good also. It's a hope for doing better. But it can also create a fallacy. And that fallacy may create a situation in which they will lose their strategy may be weakened in coming days.
So, Professor Tiwari spoke about Ramayana. So, Amita Tiwari, I'm going to come to you and, use something from the Mahabharata and ask that, will the Congress be Dadich, in the sense, the story of it, where it's a great story of sacrifice. Do you think the Congress party, because already the murmurs are there, Congress is monolithic in this entire narrative of things, will it make the sacrifice to say, all right, let's grin and bear it, let's make the sacrifices? Do you expect that out of the Congress party? You have to unmute, Amita.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of debate on whether Congress needs to make sacrifice and show a big heart. On the contrary, if you see, it is my feeling, and also a section of the Congress itself, that the regional parties need to make sacrifices, because the regional parties do not have presence outside their home state, so they cannot demand seats from Congress in states like MP, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan. Whereas Congress, whatever votes it has today, 5%, 10%, 15, 20%, even in states like UP, Bengal, it has something. So then it by logic needs to have seats in alliance in those states. So what is the sacrifice which we are discussing about? So that is a big debate in Congress, whether they need to make the sacrifice, or the regional parties need to make the sacrifice, more so because it is a national election. Now, coming to the narrative of it, because elections are about narrative. So while narrative, the opposition is trying to seize the narrative, optically it looks good that there are 15, 16 parties who are coming together to outthrow the BJP government in power. However, a lot of importance also is being given, I think, unnecessarily to this opposition unity or alliance, because opposition unity, I think, is already in place in 150 odd seats. Is Shiv Sena or is JDU not already part of the Congress-led alliance at the center, and even in states like Bihar or Maharashtra? So they have already power. They are already allies. Many of the regional satraps have not come. Mayawati, Naveen Patnaik, KCR, Jagan, etc. So in 100 odd seats, it's not possible only. 150, it is already there. 100 odd seats, it's not possible. And in 130 seats, where there is a direct BJP versus Congress contest, like Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, largely Gujarat also, there is no need for an opposition unity. So this leaves on the table only around 150 tricky seats, which are in West Bengal, UP, Assam and Haryana, to have some sort of understanding.
Amita, because even in West Bengal, Brijesh, Amitabh, it's just the left and the Mamata. I mean, I think that wherever there are two big parties fighting, it will be very, very tricky for anybody, for this kind of an opposition unity to come up and try and do something, which is the next topic that we are going to speak about. Amitabh, let me just come back to you. Let me introduce Rajalakshmi. The first round is to say hello. Rajalakshmi Joshi, a very, very warm welcome to you, and thank you for waiting up. The thing is that, look, I somehow feel that the entire narrative starts with Congress's fabulous win in Karnataka. They've had a fabulous victory. There are no two ways about it. So I somehow feel that the BJP today, I'm not saying that the PDA has come up because of this, but also because of this, that somehow the BJP looks rather weakened, which happens to the best of political parties after a brilliant run, So do you think the BJP has been weakened? And also, if you read several experts, they are saying, look at the BJP, it's not like they don't have a chink in their armor. I mean, their oldest allies, they've lost all of them to the Parivar, whether it is the Shiromani Akali Dal, Shiva Sena or the JDU, Rajalakshmi. So somewhere the BJP is kind of diluted than it was ever before.
Sudhaji, what you're saying is true, that after the Karnataka elections, the Congress has become more confident, but the Congress's expectations have also raised, and the Congress's approach has changed quite a lot. But at the same time, the BJP definitely, they have introspected, and they are definitely looking at what went wrong, and there is this huge approach to connect with everybody. Like, there is this Vishesh Jan Sampark Abhiyan going on with the BJP. So where, especially after all these elections, Nadda ji had spoken about how everybody should be reaching out to every single person, every single household. So the BJP is definitely not taking things easy. But at the same time, just the very thought, the only vision and the only thought that is there in all these people's minds is how to defeat the BJP, only makes the BJP look even more stronger, and it makes the BJP assume a much more stronger position, because then all these people, they don't seem to have any other vision, any other agenda, they don't seem to have any other thing on their mind other than how to get rid of the BJP.
Yeah, but Rajalakshmi, that is the single... That is the single purpose, no? If we are going to 2024 and I'm standing, in elections opposite you, then my whole focus will be to kind of, vanquish Rajalakshmi and vice versa. I mean, why would I look hither and thither? I'll be like Arjun, again, Mahabharat, that fish and that eye of the fish.
But then you should, what you're saying is right in a way, but at the same time, the people need to know what exactly are these people offering instead of the BJP.
Right.
For
So
them
that,
to let me
yeah, you're right. You know,
what are they
yeah.
offering?
That's right. But that
That
will
has to
become
be
clearer as they hurtle towards 2024, and we'll have to wait and see. Manasvi Thapar, who's an advocate and political analyst. Manasvi, welcome to the show. Manasvi, you know, the thing is that I want to ask you one very, very straight question, and we are going to really discuss this on, you know, let's have a very, very focused debate. Will they be able to field a common candidate in places where they are fighting with each other? Now, because Amita Tiwari actually touched upon tricky seats, because this is not just about chemistry, this is about arithmetic as well. You know, we were speaking about the great Ram Manohar Lohia, and I say great because I'm a great votary and I respect him a lot. But when he stood Brijesh in Farrukhabad, you know, if you may recall, Janasangh saw to it that they fielded a candidate against him, and they were together before that. This is the tragedy of alliances, and that's what happened. I mean, you know, you saw this entire poof go up in air. So I'm asking you, is that going to be possible in PDA?
Sudhaji, this is very interesting to see because alliances have happened in the central stage from 1971, from the Grand Alliance till today, the PDA, the so-called PDA. What is more interesting is to see that it is not a Congress-led alliance. I would say that this is a BJP betrayed alliance. So all the political parties have been betrayed by BJP at a very long and a larger extent. From Mamata Banerjee to Nitish Kumar to Uddhav Thackeray, these were the strongholds of NDA. With the making of BJP, earlier BJP was a small brother in their respective states. But with the eventual entry of Narendra Modi ji in the political center stage, what happened was that BJP became a bigger player and NDA became a small player in this whole political arena. So coming down to what is happening right now is, it's the common minimum program of how do we collectively make sure that BJP does not come into power. Why? Of the simple reasons that how have they made sarkars where they didn't even have one single MLA at their place, how they made sure that there were the largest number of turncoats in the history of Indian political arena happened in the last 9 years, that people from one political party have jumped into only one particular major party is BJP. This have never happened in an independent India. So this is a very important thing. And when this comes to the survival, it's a survival instinct for most of the regional political parties. So definitely I feel when it comes to single candidates at single places, all have to play together to make sure that the bigger player, the biggest in the Indian political player is the BJP. To make sure that they get defeated, they have to stand together.
I know, but that's idealistic, right? Political parties work on stitching up alliances, stitching up coalitions. So we'll have to wait. I'll come back to you, Brijesh. I'm going to come to you because before I go to Professor Badri Narayan. He spoke about Dalits and everything. Look at what Mayawati is doing quietly on the side. I mean, she's saying, I will not join your bandwagon, but she's speaking about Alpasankyak, she's speaking about पिछड़े जो हैं, अति पिछड़े हैं, इस बार का चुनाव हम उन्हीं के अधिकारों के लिए लड़ेंगे वगैरह. So one doesn't, you know, when you speak about, and it's, I know that you cannot take Dalits as a block. I won't. They are different in Tamil Nadu, they are different in Uttar Pradesh. But what exactly, because Professor Badri Narayan spoke about this, I'm asking you, what is her game? Is she waiting for the opportune moment?
No, I think, you know, her reticence or her not firmly aligning herself to the opposition bloc, basically this would help BJP more than it would harm BJP. And B, that, you know, that she was not found contesting elections even in the last assembly election in 2022, because the kind of incidents, if you remember, happened near Prayagraj and all, where, you know, 5 of family were butchered. Usually, if you are a practitioner of identity politics or practitioner of Dalit politics, you know, you would have created a furor, but she didn't visit even visited that family. And you know, there are various theories abound as to why she's going very slow on various aspects and all. I think, you know, when the PDA is that we will also have to remember one very, very crucial thing, that it is not the fight against the BJP. it is also a fight against them being under a very microscopic scrutiny of the ED and the CBI. A majority of these political parties which are like, was asking Congress for sacrifice, or like, talking about how, that the larger party has to show bigger heart and all, also know for sure that if they lose this election, then their regime coming under a very, very turbulent time is also not far away. They know that. And that is the reason why I think, contrary to the common sense in my head, I also believe that, that they might, I'm not saying that every political party will come together, but we will see some sort of a coalition. The only interesting thing would be whether they actually go as what Amitabh was saying, that, that let Congress fight and support Congress fight in those seats where it's a direct Congress and BJP fights, and Congress showing the sagacity, like, giving maximum seats to, say, for example, a Samajwadi party in Uttar Pradesh, and also to Bihar, to JDU and RJD in the state of Bihar. That is the key thing to go for, as to how they will bifurcate, and whether they will be able to have this Venn diagram where certain seats are overlapping, and how you have your own power structures ready. But because more than Modi, more than BJP, I think these political parties have also realized, look at Mamata. Abhishek Banerjee and her family, and his family, his wife and all, and Anubrata Mandal and all her close associates are under massive ED scrutiny. So is JDU, so is RJD, so I think, more than Modi, it is ED and CBI which is more of a unifying factor.
DMK.
The real fear of losing, if you lose 24, you might end up being decimated politically and go behind bars for a very long time. I think that is going to play far bigger role than anti-Modi gig would.
The politics of fear and paranoia. That's what Brijesh Pandey means, and it's real. Professor Badri Narayan, I want to come to you because we are asking, will they be able to field a common candidate? So I'm asking you that, won't that be a big problem? Let's look at Punjab, for instance, the Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress. In several other states also, how are they going? This becomes always a big problem, Professor. Do you think that this is going to be one of the biggest hurdles for them when it comes to the practicality of elections?
You're very right. Actually, that's the real test of the opposition unity, when they will distribute the tickets and the seats. Because, after all, the politics is the context of the ambitions. And everyone who is working in the politics is working for fulfilling his or her own ambition. And those ambitions create pressure on the party, will create pressure on the party. And that will rupture the grand narrative which they are going to create. Patriotic Democratic Alliance. So that Patriotic Alliance may be ruptured at various places by this kind of ambitions of the regional forces, regional parties. And you are very right that the Congress and the opposition, the regional party are contesting, are in opposition at various places, various states. And that there will be very problematic for them to create a consensus. But the major problem would be like Uttar Pradesh. If you see the case of Uttar Pradesh, without Mayawati, are they able to create pose a challenge for the BJP?
I think we've lost contact to the professor. We'll get him back. Amita Tiwari. Amitabh, I want to now go to the next question, and which is the very important and crucial. It happens in assembly elections, and यहाँ पे तो मतलब बहुत ही जायज़ है ये, when we talk about a united front of disparate parties and big leaders like Mamata and Stalin and Akhilesh. Who shall be the prime ministerial face, Amita Tiwari? A big question there.
Yeah. So there are two ways to approach it.
Ji.
One is that you let Congress lead the alliance, and of course then Rahul Gandhi becomes the prime ministerial candidate. Lalu Yadav has hinted that in one of the statements which he had made about his marriage and the Dulera. Because he is more of a practical politician than the others, and
Absolutely.
he has lived most of it and has achieved a lot. Correct. The other is that you go without a prime ministerial face. Now, if you go without a prime ministerial face in a national election, you lose out on a lot of votes, because as per Access My India survey, which gets most of the survey, 37% people vote in a national election on the basis of the prime ministerial face. So if you don't have a prime ministerial face, you actually are targeting out these set of voters from your target list. The third is you let a consensus candidate, which is a non-Congress candidate, to lead this alliance, whether it is Nitish, Mamata, Akhilesh. It's very difficult that they will agree, but let's say they somehow agree to some person. But then what happens is that the track record of any non-Congress, non-BJP government in the center is very bad. Only Congress or BJP, even Narasimha Rao in 1991 and Manmohan Singh were able to run coalition governments. Non-Congress, non-BJP prime ministers, all of them, barring Morarji Desai, have not even completed 1 year in 10.
True. Yes.
So these are the three options. Either you let Congress lead, which is a natural leader, whatever said at that. It has 20% vote share, which is 5 times the vote share of Mamata Banerjee. And it has presence across states. Or you don't go with a leader, try to localize a national election, which is very difficult. And third option is you go with a non-Congress candidate or a socialist or a regional satrap, but that also comes with cons. So it's a very difficult and a tricky question.
Seems like Akhilesh Yadav, Brijesh Pandey. I don't know. I mean, it immediately came to my mind, but Brijesh, that's going to be one of the toughest things to do, what Amita Tiwari is saying.
It is. I mean, there are two ways about it. It's most obviously the biggest hurdle they are going to face. But I think their main strategy will be to who emerges as the totem pole of this particular alliance. And I think, if the Congress crosses 100, only then you can have a slightly stable alliance. As I said, that the purpose is not merely to come to power. The purpose is also to save their kith and kin under the microscopic gaze. That fear is a very, very real fear. And so I think, we'll have to wait and watch as to who gets to become the Prime Minister candidate. But I completely agree with Amita, because this is the same thing which we were discussing, on Saturday also, post the meeting. Because the way Lalu Prasad Yadav was, in his own early sense of humor, was hinting at the primacy of Congress Party and Rahul Gandhi in the entire coalition. Remember, Lalu Prasad Yadav is personally facing that kind of problem.
True.
He would the deal between him and the JDU was that that Nitish Kumar will make Tejasvi Yadav the chief minister of Bihar. That is not fructifying. Why is that not fructifying? Is because Nitish knows that that Lalu Yadav can't function, and Lalu knows that he cannot let go of the power which they are enjoying. Otherwise, if BJP comes to power, he'll make sure that the situation the earth becomes too hot for the RJD clan to bear. And that is the reason why, very smartly, if you compare last 3 months to this time, they have backtracked completely. Now there is not a single soundbite on whether Tejasvi should be the CM or not. That has simply evaporated.
Yes,
it has evaporated. That is exactly what will happen.
Yeah. Rajalakshmi Joshi, I want to bring you here. Rajalakshmi Joshi, even as this alliance is getting ready, they are going to meet in Shimla, etc., etc. You said that, they have no other agenda but to defeat Modi-led BJP, which should it be single point purpose. But you know what? You lost Karnataka. You say it's not a big deal, not you. But then that's the thing, that elections, some we lose, we gain some. Look at the Northeast, for instance. I'm not talking about the Manipur tragedy, which has been there almost for 2 months now. But overall, your kind of almost hegemony in the Northeast. I'm talking about 2004, at a time when both, the late Atal Bihari Vajpayee was around, and also Sri Lal Krishna Advani. The GDP was doing brilliantly well. There was no inflation. Everything was hunky-dory, but you still lost the elections. But with this Karnataka thing, don't you think it's a double whammy? And I'm once again looking for an answer from you as to what is it that you will do to salvage this onslaught of the opposition unity. I will not call it a juggernaut, let's say vehicle.
Sudhaji, I just want to reiterate my point that the BJP and Modi ji have a lot to offer. The kind of vision that they're displaying, all those kind of projects that they are talking about. And Modi ji is talking about the Agenda 2047, even in his Niti Aayog meeting. So all those kind of visions and all those kind of projects, all those announcements that they make, so that obviously strikes a chord. And like you very rightly said, it is no secret that Modi ji is a rock star, and definitely the face of BJP under him is miles ahead of any other leadership. So that is the biggest difference between what was happening during Vajpayee ji's time. With all due respect to him, today Modi ji strikes an even greater connect with everybody. So that is the kind of, even whether it may be within the country or overseas also, he has a great connect with everyone.
All right.
And whatever he speaks about, all those the projects, that definitely is going to take him
all right.
much
So,
ahead.
I mean, I like the word you used. He's a rock star. I mean, I will have to wait and see whether this rock star is able to do his gig once again in 2024. Manasvi Thapar, I am now moving to the next thing. Will there be a joint manifesto there for the House? But it's a major pain point. Now, how do you do a common kind of a manifesto? What are the issues that they will all come together? I'm sure that this will be one of the longest meetings ever, and maybe the knives will be out.
Sudhaji, this is very interesting what you have pointed out. Common manifesto. I don't think common manifesto as of now at this juncture, while we are talking in the month of June 2023, is a reality as of now, because 2023 will have its own political repercussions. We need to see how Congress is going to perform and how Congress is going to lead the united front. So we have to see that. And if Congress is going to win the next coming assembly elections, so there is a possibility of having a joint manifesto led by Congress, wherein all the smaller political parties give a consent on the joint manifesto, which is an artistic dream from my end as of now, speaking to that front. But yes, there is going to be a common minimum program of what has been said by previous speakers about the ED and CBI's constant lookout against the opposition leaders. And there is also going to be a thought process of how do we create a revival program of political parties, which is not going to happen
but
with the
we are
kind
seeing
of
the
pressure
kind of slugfest already on the ordinance between AAP, very, very sharp exchange of words which are already happening, and I'm sure that there'll be lots of issues. Yes, the Congress parties had a success in Karnataka, but we're talking about disparate parties here, and I think, I'm not saying that it will be a problem and everyone will gun for each other, but it's going to be a major pain point. Let me go to Professor Badri Narayan. Professor, I want to ask you about the southern conundrum, the south, which today, of course, they're all saying, you know, BJP Mukt Dakshin Bharat ho gaya hai, Professor. But the point is, there is a conundrum there. Now, what do you do? Look at it. Stalin is married to the Congress. I'm using the word married in a different context, of course. Is married to the Congress. Jagan Mohan Reddy says, I'm not joining you guys. Because the ED, like Brijesh was saying, did exactly what the BJP allegedly could do in the future. They put him in jail. Look at the BRS. He's checked out. KCR. Suddenly he's cozying up with the BJP and saying, mere to param mitra hain, Narendra Modi. Pinarayi Vijayan, you know that Pinarayi Vijayan is someone who keeps away from all these things. What happens to the southern conundrum? How does the South react to this entire, you know, PDA as it were, and how will it be adjusted?
I think you have already gave the answer also of this question. And I think that things are going to take place in the same way as you said. Now, there may be a lot of division in the party opinions of the South, and many of them will join to Modi, and some of them will be part of the PDA. This is the party the calculations. But you know, the election is not the only election of the parties. You know? It's not the alliance of the party which makes the election victory or defeat in the election. It's also alliance of the public, communities, social groups, where they are going to be allied and for what. And their, of course, their alliances are being led by, their movements of the votes are being led by the political parties, but not fully. Certain of them take their own decision also. And you know, Narendra Modi has various strong trust capital. And that trust capital is growing day by day, even after defeat of the Karnataka and maybe defeat of the, if they get defeated in the Madhya Pradesh. I'm not saying it nahi ja raha hai. I say that jaise aapne Mahabharat ka, you have took the metaphor of the Mahabharat, I'm talking in the same way, कि जैसे दुर्योधन went for the स्वयंवर of the द्रौपदी एंड वहां पर जो फर्श पे था उसको देख उसको लगा कि ये तालाब है तो फर्श है और वो गिर गया उसमें पानी में. So it's a mirage. I'm saying this state election is going to work as a mirage for the analyzing for kid election, 24 election. Because we heard many people in the Karnataka itself, they are saying, इसमें हमने कांग्रेस को वोट दिया है, अगली बार हम मोदी जी को वोट देंगे. The next election is going to be referendum on the Modi, and Modi has a very strong trust capital. It will break any kind. It has a capacity to break any kind of alliance or beyond alliance. Public can vote him. And you know that I see that this election is going to be centered on two themes. One is Garib Kalyan, Garibi, and other is the Dharma, means religious mobilization.
Yeah, I've completely. Professor, my apologies. I've completely run out of time. The producer is telling me in the ear, but I'll give the last word to Amita Tiwari. Amita, tell me something quickly. Brijesh, my colleague here, constantly tells me, Sudha, elections are fought differently in assembly and general elections. Do you believe that? Because then Professor Saab की जो बात है कि ये मोदी के बिना पर लड़ा जाएगा, actually will come true. Quickly, Amitabh. Amitabh, can you hear me? Don't do this to me. I'm running out of time.
No, actually true, because we have seen in the past also that states have been voting differently than the Lok Sabha elections. Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh were a point in case in 2018 and 19. So the context is different for state and national elections, and the issues on which they are contested are also different. And that is why people tend to vote differently in state and national elections, and the state elections may not have a significant impact on the national.
All right. On that word, of course, Professor Saab, you spoke about the mirage and the lake and the laughter, but let's not forget that Duryodhan also had to face Urubhangam. That is, his thigh was broken at the end. So that's what politics is also about. You never know which side the camel actually turns. Thank you so much, all of us, for joining us on this very riveting conversation on this new PDA, as it were. Thank you, Brijesh. It was such a pleasure. And for all the news and analysis, keep watching News 9 Live.
मैं इमरान अहमद खान नियाजी सबके दिल से हल्फ उठाता हूँ.
When Imran Khan came initially into politics, he thought his personal popularity would be sufficient for him. It didn't happen.
The retired military generals are openly saying that Imran Khan is a better choice.
Imran Khan may have bitten a bit too much, more than what he can chew.
Implosion. This and more, streaming on world's first news OTT, News 9 Plus. Download now.
On 20th March 2023, a mob of Khalistan supporters vandalized the Indian High Commission in London. A day later, the Indian consulate in San Francisco was attacked.